A nuclear physicist vanished with weapons-grade uranium. This is how the FBI hunted him down. On October 12, 2017, security alarms screamed through Los Alamos National Laboratory. What federal investigators discovered would trigger one of the most sensitive manhunts in FBI history. Dr. Alexander Petrov, a respected nuclear physicist with top-secret clearance, had vanished, along with enough weapons-grade uranium to build a dirty bomb. For 8 years, Petrov had worked in the laboratory's most secure facilities. His colleagues knew him as brilliant, but increasingly bitter about his stalled career advancement. What they didn't know was that Petrov had been secretly photographing classified documents and siphoning small amounts of highly enriched uranium over 18 months. The theft was sophisticated and methodical. According to Department of Energy investigators, Petrov had used his security access to bypass multiple safeguards. He modified inventory records, created false documentation, and exploited shift changes when fewer personnel monitored the materials. The missing uranium, nearly 2 pounds of weapons-grade U-235, represented enough fissile material for a radiological dispersal device that could contaminate entire city blocks. But the uranium wasn't Petrov's only crime. FBI counterintelligence agents discovered encrypted communications on his personal computer linking him to foreign intelligence contacts. Bank records revealed mysterious deposits totaling $2.30 million over 6 months, traced to accounts in Cyprus and Montenegro. The evidence painted a disturbing picture. A nuclear scientist selling America's most dangerous secrets to hostile nations. Within hours of the discovery, FBI Director Christopher Wray activated a joint task force with the Department of Energy, CIA, and NSA.I. The stakes couldn't be higher. As Special Agent Rebecca Torres later testified, this wasn't just about catching a thief, it was about preventing nuclear terrorism on American soil. The FBI added Dr. Alexander Petrov to the 10 most wanted fugitives list, offering a $5 million reward for information leading to his capture. The manhunt for the uranium thief had begun. Dr. Alexander Petrov's last known location was the Los Alamos Security Office on October 11, 2017. At 3:47 p.m. UNDI, he had been called in for what he believed was a routine security review. Instead, investigators were preparing to confront him about suspicious activity in his work areas. Petrov never made it to that meeting. Surveillance cameras captured him, leaving the building through a side entrance at 4:02 p.m. He was never seen on American soil again. FBI agents rushed to Petrov's apartment in White Rock, New Mexico, finding it meticulously cleaned and abandoned. His government-issued laptop was gone, along with personal files and photographs. But investigators discovered something more troubling: forged documents hidden behind a false panel in his bedroom wall. The passport bore Petrov's photo but identified him as Viktor Kozlov, a Ukrainian national. The fake passport had been used 3 times in the past year. Trips to Montreal, Prague, and Istanbul that Petrov had never reported to his security handlers. Federal agents realized they weren't dealing with an opportunistic thief. This was a long-planned operation by someone who had spent months preparing his escape route. Within 24 hours, international alerts flooded law enforcement databases across 5 continents. The FBI coordinated with Interpol, Canadian Border Services, and European security agencies. Nuclear detection equipment at major airports went to high alert. Every port of entry received Petrov's photograph and biometric data. The first breakthrough came from Toronto Pearson International Airport. A customs officer recognized the Viktor Kozlov passport from the morning briefing. Security footage confirmed it. Petrov had cleared customs at 11:30 a.m. on October 12th, less than 20 hours after his disappearance. His destination was Prague. But when FBI agents arrived in the Czech Republic 48 hours later, the trail had already gone cold. Hotel records showed Kozlov had checked out after one night, paying cash and leaving no forwarding information. The uranium thief had vanished into the shadows of Eastern Europe, carrying America's nuclear secrets with him. The search for Dr. Alexander Petrov became the most expensive manhunt in FBI counterintelligence history. Over $50 in resources, 200 federal agents, and partnerships with 15 countries all focused on one goal: finding the nuclear physicist before he could sell his stolen uranium to terrorists or hostile nations. Special Agent Rebecca Torres coordinated the international task force from a secure facility in Quantico. "We had one advantage," she later testified before Congress. "Petrov couldn't just disappear completely. He needed specialized buyers for weapons-grade uranium, and that market is very small and heavily monitored." The FBI's strategy was methodical and relentless. They identified every known nuclear smuggling network, every black market contact who might deal in fissile materials. CIA assets across Europe and the Middle East received Petrov's photograph. The NSA monitored communications for any mention of uranium sales or radiological materials. For 5 years, the hunt consumed thousands of man-hours and generated hundreds of leads. Each promising tip led to the same frustrating conclusion: Petrov was always one step ahead. In March 2019, Prague police raided an apartment where witnesses had spotted a man matching his description. They found recent evidence of occupation, but no fugitive. In June 2020, Turkish authorities nearly captured him at an Istanbul cafe, after a tip from an informant. When they arrived, his coffee was still warm on the table. The close calls revealed Petrov's pattern. He moved frequently, never staying in one location longer than 6 weeks. He used a network of safe houses across Eastern Europe, changing identities like clothing. But federal agents knew he had one weakness. He couldn't resist reaching out to his scientific contacts, seeking validation for his research. Meanwhile, radiological detection networks across the globe monitored for any trace of the stolen uranium. Customs agents at every major port received specialized training to identify nuclear materials. The hunt had become a waiting game, with federal agents knowing that eventually, Petrov would make a fatal mistake. "We never stopped believing we'd find him," Agent Torres recalled. "Nuclear material leaves traces. You can't hide physics." The question wasn't if they would catch the uranium thief. It was when. On February 14th, 2023, Valentine's Day, NSA cryptanalysts intercepted an encrypted email that would change everything. The message, routed through 7 proxy servers, contained a single line that made Agent Torres's blood run cold. "Package ready for delivery. Buyer confirmed for Montreal meeting." The breakthrough came from an algorithm designed to detect nuclear-related communications. For months, NSA computers had been analyzing millions of intercepted messages, looking for specific terminology and patterns associated with radiological material sales. This message triggered every alarm in the system. Within hours, the FBI's best digital forensics team was dissecting the email's digital fingerprints. The encryption was sophisticated, but not perfect. Buried in the message's metadata, they found traces that led them through a complex web of virtual private networks and encrypted servers. The trail pointed to one location: a secured internet cafe in Montreal's Saint Laurent district. The FBI immediately contacted the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, sharing intelligence under the Enhanced Border Security Agreement. Canadian authorities had been tracking the cafe for months as part of their own cybercrime investigation. Security cameras outside the building had captured dozens of suspicious visitors, including one man who matched Petrov's description. "We had him," Agent Torres later testified. After 5 years and 4 months, Dr. Alexander Petrov had finally made his fatal mistake. The email revealed more than just Petrov's location. It confirmed their worst fears. He was actively attempting to sell the stolen uranium to an unidentified buyer. Joint surveillance teams positioned themselves around the Montreal safe house within 36 hours. Advanced radiation detection equipment confirmed traces of enriched uranium inside the building. FBI negotiators prepared for the possibility that Petrov might threaten to detonate a radiological device if cornered. On February 18, 2023, facial recognition software confirmed visual identification. Dr. Alexander Petrov, using the identity Viktor Kozlov, entered the building at 2:17 p.m. He was carrying a metallic briefcase and appeared nervous, constantly checking his surroundings. The uranium thief had finally been found. Now came the most dangerous part, taking him alive while securing the stolen nuclear material before it could fall into terrorist hands. At 5:47 a.m. on February 19, 2023, joint FBI-RERSMP tactical teams surrounded the Montreal apartment building. The pre-dawn raid involved 47 federal agents, hazardous materials specialists, and nuclear emergency response teams. Everyone wore full radiation protection gear. They had no idea what they would find inside. Dr. Alexander Petrov was asleep when agents breached his door. Awakened by flashlights and shouted commands in English and French, he offered no resistance. "I've been expecting you," he told Agent Torres in his distinctive Russian accent, his hands raised in surrender. The metallic briefcase sat on his kitchen table, locked and sealed with lead lining. Inside, nuclear specialists found 1.7 pounds of the stolen weapons-grade uranium, carefully stored in shielded containers. The remaining material had been divided into smaller samples, evidence that Petrov had been planning multiple sales to different buyers. Alongside the uranium, agents recovered encrypted hard drives containing thousands of pages of classified Los Alamos documents. The stolen files included detailed specifications for nuclear weapon systems, uranium enrichment processes, and security protocols for America's most sensitive nuclear facilities. The damage could have been catastrophic, FBI Director Wray announced at a press conference 3 days later. Dr. Petrov possessed enough fissile material and classified information to enable a terrorist attack or provide a hostile nation with decades of American nuclear research. Extradited to the United States in April 2023, Petrov faced federal charges including espionage, theft of nuclear materials, and violations of the Atomic Energy Act. Prosecutors presented evidence of his communications with foreign intelligence services and his attempts to sell uranium to suspected terrorist intermediaries. On November 15, 2023, a federal jury in New Mexico convicted Dr. Alexander Petrov on all charges. Judge Patricia Williams sentenced him to life imprisonment, without the possibility of parole at Adex Florence, the nation's most secure federal prison. "Today, justice has been served," Agent Torres stated outside the courthouse. Dr. Petrov will spend the rest of his life behind bars, where he can never again threaten American national security. The uranium has been returned to secure federal custody. Los Alamos has implemented enhanced security protocols to prevent future thefts. Today, the uranium thief sits in solitary confinement at Adex Florence, his nuclear secrets buried with him in America's most secure prison.